to address PDAMs as, the mentor and the brand communication strategy. So if I were you, I will put all the questions possible. You can even be specific. Now that he's here as, not as PDAMs, but you get what I mean. So, yes. All right, we're going to have a very power-packed session coming up very shortly. And this woman, let me tell you the story of how I encountered her. Let me give you that story. I was hosting a career summit, and she was on the panel, and there were some examples that she gave about her journey. I think what struck me about it was how transparent she was with, sharing, how when you see people that have gone far, and there's some of them that just have this thing about them that you just can't relate. You feel like it's so far. Some people you talk to and you'll be looking like when you see, when you're on a plane and when you're on an airplane, you look down, all the cities look so tiny. They look like Monopoly icons or something. Like they're just almost non-existent. There are sometimes people share their stories like that make you feel like you're so small and there's no way. But it was so refreshing to see her share her journey, and it was like she was giving you the steps, like the stories, the experiences, and I'm sure that we're going to have a very, very enriching time as we listen to her session. She's a prolific human resource consultant, an excellent employee relations expert, and a dynamic talent development strategist. There is an audio bio that we're going to play. And as you listen, I want to say may you be blessed, but as you listen, I want you to see possibilities too, if this is a path that you want to do. So media team, can we play her audio bio? And please, can we pay attention?
Ibitoye can best be described as a prolific senior human resources professional with over 10 years of cognitive and practical experience resolving critical human capital business issues across diverse industries within the corporate sector. She has a strong background in talent development and management, human capital strategy for optimal performance in the workplace, employee and labor relations, to mention a few. Ivie currently serves as the head of employee relations for a leading multinational energy conglomerate, where she's responsible for spearheading and coordinating employee relations and engagement across the group in 42 locations within and outside Nigeria, and well over 6,000 employees. Ivie wears many hats, one of which is as the founder and lead consultant of Elite Hunters Limited, a HR management and workforce solutions company that caters to corporate organizations, MSMEs, SMEs, and career professionals by providing HR consulting and HR business partnering, talent acquisition and recruitment, as well as training and development services across Nigeria. Ivie is a passionate, high-performing, and result-driven professional with an enviable track record of success in her career. In the course of her HR career, she has successfully managed the overall provision of practical human resources strategy, policies and programs, and has helped various organizations boost overall performance through effective HR, strategy building, fair and coherent compensation and benefits, and employee engagement. With a wealth of experience across the oil and energy, automobile, consulting, media and communication sectors, Ivie has a sterling reputation for ensuring that she develops and implements human capital structures and strategic HR solutions that are sustainable, practical, and profitable to organizations. Ivie currently serves as a member of the board of directors for the Edo State Skill Agency. She has received notable recognitions for her strides in the career sector. She was recognized as one of Nigeria's most inspiring women in Nigeria by
give a round of applause when you hear something that resonates.
She was also recognized by the Inspire series, Women Supporting Women
I think we can keep the applause going. Let's exercise some hand
portion
cardio and celebrate
empowering
the excellent woman in our midst.
In 2020, Ivie was awarded the Lord's Dry Gin Achievers Awards among 12 individuals for her attaining remarkable level of progress in her industry. Her ultimate passion shows up in her relentless efforts to make job seekers more employable by providing them with the tools and resources that will increase each candidate's market value and improve their existing skill set. She has a vision to help job seekers plan their careers and position them for their dream jobs, as well as helping employers attract and retain top talent. Her current mantra is changing the narrative of employability in Nigeria, one candidate at a time.
All right, Algorithm Conference 2026. Please, can we give a standing ovation to our keynote speaker for today, Mrs. Ivie Ibitoye Temitayo. Please, can we give her Temitayo Ibitoye, not me mixing it up. Ladies and gentlemen, please, can we give a resounding applause to Ivie Temitayo Ibitoye? Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you. That was the longest profile, right? I was just shaking my head. So thank you to CCI. Thank you to P. Dams, my colleague and my pastor as well. And such an honor to be with you guys. I've had quite a number of speaking engagements, but I would always remember my experiences at CCI. This is my second time, so I feel really honored to be here. Also to say well done to everybody that made it, and also honor my friend Franklin. Franklin is one of those people that when you have in your corner, you're going to go far. So thank you, Franklin, for all your support as always. Do we have anybody who came out of town just for this conference? Doesn't live in Lagos State and just came because of this conference? Anybody? Sorry, I can't see because of the light, so you have to stand up if you are. Anybody? Okay. Does anybody know the first person to have walked into this building today for this conference? Don't lie, you. Let's say the truth. If you believe you were the first person to walk in before we started, and not that you're a member of CCI planning committee, like you're an attendee and you came in first. Anybody? Okay, I'm seeing a hand at the back. Do you want to come and join me? You don't want to come? Trust me, you want to come and join me. I'm actually serious, and you're eating into my 30 minutes time. I think he's unsure because he's on the walking team, but it's okay. Please, can we just honor him, please? I'll tell you why in a bit. You see, when you see conferences like this happen, a lot of people have choices to do. Today's a Saturday. You can be sleeping, you can be chilling, you can be planning for Owambe. But when you decide to attend a conference like this, what you're telling me is that you are intentional about your future. Because you cannot grow in isolation. There's so much information out there, and conferences like this give you that opportunity to come and learn quickly. I know that we're in the age of social media, and sometimes we think that just being on Instagram is sufficient. But that diligence to wake up in the morning, to get up, to say, I'm going to come for this conference and be part of it, is something that I honor greatly. So I have a gift for you. It's with the beautiful lady there. And well done. Let's not tell them the gift, Abby. Okay. So I'm going to start today by just talking a bit about what the workspace looked like before we got into the current workplace. Now, when we were growing up, a lot of us thought that all we needed to do was go to school, get good grades, earn a good degree, you get your banking job, and that is it. In fact, I didn't even want to read law. My mother forced me to study law because as far as she was concerned, how will she boast if you're a journalist? But when you are a barrister, she has bragging rights. But at that time, all we were focused on was just get your good grades, graduate, and get into the whole labor market and workspace. And then your life will be settled. But the reality is that the world that we were preparing for no longer exists. We are in a world that we did not bargain for. We are seeing that some of the jobs that people had trained for have disappeared completely. I just came back from holiday. I walked into a retail store in London, and there was no cashier. They say self-checkout. I'm like, I didn't know, afraid that somebody will run away with the clothes because self-checkout. But guess what? That's the reality. 4 years ago when I was in London, there were quite a number of cashiers. Today, there are no cashiers. Those jobs are extinct because now there's technology. You go, you scan your item, you pay, you walk out of the store. The hotel that I stayed, if you wanted biscuit or anything, there was no human being there. You go, you pick your biscuits, you scan, you pay, you leave. I think about jobs like people who wanted to be newspaper editors. It was such a prestigious job then. But now, digital media has changed how news is produced and how news is consumed. So there's no longer print editor per se. Or should we talk about when Globalcom used to recruit customer service officers? It was such a big deal. You get to the place at 4 a.m. so you can be one of the operators. Today, technology has replaced all of those jobs. And some of the roles that are now shaping the global economy are roles that didn't exist 10 years ago. Somebody's career is as an influencer. That's a job. Do you see how they are balling? Like even me now, I told myself this 2026, I will come into the full expression of myself. I too can influence. Why not? We're looking at people that are social media managers and content strategists because they are now careers that are built around platforms that never existed, but they do exist today. We're looking at product managers, UI, UX designers. I was recruiting for an international company, and they wanted me to recruit a regional remote community manager. I'm like, what is that? And they said they work remotely, so they need a community manager for their remote team, the ones in Ghana, in Tanzania, in Lagos, all of that. But that's a job. And those are the jobs that are shaping the global economy, and they didn't exist 10 years ago. Today, some of us are working with people that we've never met. I was talking to my auntie in London, and she was saying the company she's worked with for 4 years, she has never met some of her colleagues physically, and she's been there for 4 years. Why? Some of them are in the same London, but just in a different part, and there's no basis for us to see each other because they work virtually. And this change can be scary. But guess what? God is not confused by change. Neither is he surprised by the change. The only people that are surprised is you and I. The only people surprised are human beings. But God is not surprised at what the world has evolved into. And so I want to talk about how we are going to thrive in this changing global workspace, not survive. Because it is important that you remain grounded in your purpose, in faith, and in excellence. So that as the world is evolving, you too, you are evolving, and the world is not going to move on, and you are not even part of it. So let's go back again to see how the world even evolved in terms of the workspace. For many of our parents and maybe older siblings, work was very local. Your career path was very linear. You studied accounting, you worked as an accountant. Some of our parents worked in the ministry, and that ministry where they started is where they ended. There was nothing like rotations. There was nothing like curiosity. I was curious. There's nothing like that. Stick to your level 1 and move to level 15, and you retire. You joined one organization, and that was where you retired. Today, we are having people who, in this span of 10 years, would have worked with 6 companies, 7 companies. But we see that work has changed, not in terms of the work itself, but in the everyday life of how work is now done. Then, work used to be just a place we go. If you were not physically present, you were not working. It was as simple as that. Your opportunities were limited by where you were at the time. If you were in a state that had a boisterous economy, you seemed to do better work-wise than if you were in a state that didn't have so much. You were not limited by your city, your country, your visa status. Things were very clear-cut. But now, work is an activity. It's not about a location any longer. People are earning in foreign currency, but they're living in Nigeria. They're living in Ghana. They're living in Senegal. And your teams are spread across various time zones, various cultures, various continents. And you guys are supposed to somewhat figure out how to work together. I was having a conversation with the CEO trying to recruit someone, and he was saying to me, the only skill I need is somebody who can work with people from diverse countries. I'm thinking that's a problem, but guess what? It is. When you're working with an international company, that you're working with somebody who is Italian, the way they reason, the way they think, the way they approach is different from the way the French people, and surely different from you, a Nigerian. So it is truly a skill to be able to work in a global organization. And we also realize now that your skills are now more important than your location. In our parents' days, it was important where you were, the place. But now, what is important is your skill. That ability to be able to communicate, ability to collaborate, ability to deliver on your job is now global currency, is now bragging rights. What people never thought was important is now what is important. When you go for interviews, when they are done with the technical, what they want to know is, can she collaborate? Can she work in a global team? Can we trust her to lead a global team? And so while a lot of people here are praying for remote job comes with its own. Because you see, if you don't change how you think, the remote job, it won't last. I think about someone like me who I don't understand how, like our colleagues, why do I have to know that you have a cat? Let's just come and walk and be going. But go and work with somebody in London. You have to talk about her cat who was sick over the weekend. You will learn to talk about cats. You will be caring. You can't go on vacation and you didn't even post it. They will say you are cold, you're unapproachable. But it's my private vacation. But guess what? It is a skill to learn how to say, I'm typically private, but because of the culture of where I work now, I need to kind of bring them into my world. In the past, success on a job meant that you stayed in the company for 30 years. That was how you knew that your dad was They did not sack him. Do you know what it is? 22 years of serving in that company. And loyalty was rewarded with consistent promotion and pension. Finish. Because when you think about it, what did they gain after the pension? Not much. They just had job security, stability. They were promoted from level 1 to 2 to 3, and then they had pension to rely on. But these days, we are seeing that being relevant matters a lot more than just staying in a company. We are seeing that industries are changing, careers are changing very quickly, and that people are now moving roles, moving companies, moving industries, and it's not because they are disloyal, it's not because they don't like their boss, but the world is shifting, and if you're not shifting as the world is shifting, you're going to be extinct as well. And so we realize now that employers are beginning to now value people that can learn, that can unlearn, and can relearn, because they are conscious of the fact that as the world is evolving, their businesses have to evolve as well. So if they hire people that cannot be adaptable and evolve, they are going to have a problem. We realize now that employees now have to take ownership of their growth. In our parents' days, if the company didn't send them for training, they were not going anywhere. Now, you have to go and train yourself so that you can continue to stay relevant in the organization. In the past, your CV told your fantastic story, and that was enough. But today, is your skills, your competences that tell your story. We are also seeing that in the past, job descriptions were fixed. This is the job you're hired to do, and that is what it is. But today, employers are valuing people who can think broadly, who can adapt very quickly, people who can do work and contribute beyond just their job title. Where Pidams and I worked, you cannot say, they employed me as an accountant and that's all that I am. No. We use a word there, you have to be ambidextrous. To be ambidextrous means you can use your right and left hand at the same time. And while some people will crumble under that pressure, I can tell you that that pressure built us. Because guess what? You meet people who studied law, who came in as a company secretary. Today they are doing BD. Next tomorrow they are heading a business. Why? Because they proved that they could be ambidextrous. And so we are seeing that roles are now very fluid. Career paths are no longer linear. It's no longer that straightforward. I come in like this and I move like this and I move like that. No, it's zigzag. That's how it's rolling now. And value now comes from your ability to solve problems, not from the big job titles. That's the truth in today's world. And so the future of work is only going to reward people who can say, that's not my job, but I can also do this and I can do that. The question is, are you prepared for the future of work? Because we've been hearing about this future of work. If you're not preparing yourself for that future, I don't know. I'm also seeing that in the past, leadership was about your position. You were MD, you were level 9, you were this, and that was all that mattered. But today, leadership is about influence. It's about your ability to get people to trust you, the ability for you to get people to follow you because they can gain competence from you. And we are seeing now that communication, emotional intelligence, integrity as skills, they are no longer things that are nice to have. They are core leadership tools that you require. When you're working with Gen Zs, you know that if your disposition is to be a dictator, the person is going to resign. You see, even for me as a person, I've had to evolve over time. I don't know how many people know this movie, Ugly Betty. There used to be one series, Ugly Betty. She had one wicked boss. For some reason, that wicked boss was my mentor. I thought that that was the way. Once I come down from my car, everybody should be running. Then I went to really work. That's when you realize that Debbie comes to work. You must notice that she made her hair over the weekend. Why? Okay, she made her hair, but guess what? That simple thing does something to Debbie's heart. So when I tell Debbie, Debbie, is it okay if you stay back a bit late today so we can close out on this report? She's going to do it joyfully. But that's a skill I had to learn and forget the old, that just because I'm the head of the team does not mean that anybody's going to do the job. I have to influence them and I have to motivate them. And now we're seeing that in the past, people used to work primarily for money and security. That was the only reason our parents were... honestly, I can't remember my father telling me anything about passion. All this one that we're doing now, I have a passion for passion. He wants to pay school fees, our parents. But now, people want meaning. People want to go to work and know they are contributing. They want impact. People are looking for growth. They want to be able to boast. I want to be able to say I contributed to the bottom line. I didn't just come here every day just so that you can pay me a salary. And so we realize now that even with my recruitment company, when we're interviewing candidates, the questions they ask us, does this work align with my values? Am I going to grow in this organization? Is my contribution going to be seen? When you're having interviews or your performance review sessions with your line manager, those are the questions that people want to know. Am I really contributing? It's no longer just about coming to clock in. Because the truth is that a paycheck will pay your bills, no wahala. But purpose is what's going to fuel your performance. It is that purpose that's going to make you say, you know what, I'm going to be a top performer and a high flyer. Now, in the past as well, we see that you are one thing. You're either an engineer, you're a banker, you're a teacher, you're an accountant. But today, you're a product manager by day, you're a creator by night. You know, P-Debs is P-Debs on Sunday. On Saturday, she's hosting an event. I used to be 9 to 5, and then I had my 5 to 9. It wasn't just one thing. And employers are getting comfortable now, knowing that that person that works in finance, that's not the only thing they do. Some of them are fashion designers. Some of them are content creators. Some of them manage social media pages for other organizations. So careers are now becoming more like portfolios and no longer just ladders that people are using to climb. And it's not weird to see, because when you think about it, God didn't give each and every one of us one single gift. He gave us gifts. And so the world has somewhat helped us to see that there's so much more in us than that one career that we always thought we were going to pursue right after school. I think about someone like Joseph in the Bible. Joseph worked in 3 different industries: Potiphar's house, prison, and palace. The culture in those 3 places, fundamentally different. The systems, different. The expectations, different. But Joseph remained valuable regardless. Why? Because his character, his diligence, and his excellence traveled with him regardless. Which is why it's important to note that while you are dreaming big, I want to go to this place, go to that place, you are developing the skills that will sustain you regardless of the industry that you are going for. So now that we are thinking about the future of work, we are thinking of the fact that you must learn to create value. Because you can now work from anywhere in the world. So what we're going to be appraising is not what time you go to work. It's going to be the quality of the work that you do. Now, organizations are going to be rating you on your ability to solve problems, your ability to deliver on results. The future of work is going to reward what you bring to the table, not where you are seated. And so the question is, how much value do you sincerely think you have to give to that organization? I know it can be all vibes, right? Oh, I just want to get a job. Do you know how much I want to earn? When you finally get that opportunity, are you going to make God proud? Or are you going to be a prayer point for your new line manager? Going to pray every morning for this, my direct report that I can't sack, but it's not adding value to me. We realized that, yes, you had a fantastic degree, you graduated with the first class. Now, the degree may open the door for you, but the skill is what is going to keep you in the room. Which is why if you're not developing yourself, what then are you doing? Many companies today are asking for candidates, and they're saying, what can the candidate do? Can you learn fast? Are you adaptable? Can you think and not just follow instructions? People are getting hired today. Why? Because they can write clearly. Because they can write without ChatGPT. Because they can analyze data. Because they can design, they can build, they can sell, they can manage. And why? Because people are now investing in short courses, in certifications, in online learning, hands-on experience. And for me, that preparation is truly what is going to set you apart, because those are becoming more powerful than formal education. I don't know how many people here, really, the universities that we went to, at least in millennial generation, I don't know anything they taught us then that is helping me today. Sorry to my lecturers, don't be angry. But let's really think about it. Even today, I'm looking at the private universities that are coming up, and I'm still not seeing the jobs of the future. Like, nothing is changing in the curriculum. They're not preparing for the global economy at all. Which means that if all you're relying on is that you graduated from Unilag with the first class, come on, no. There are people with pass that are doing great stuff because they invested in themselves. The jobs will keep changing, but the skills will stay and become transferable. And that is why, as you prepare for the future of work, you need to start investing in developing skills. There are some skills that will always be relevant. Communication skills. See, this communication skill, you know, people think communication skill is that I can speak English, like basic primary English. Until you get the opportunity to interview someone, and you have spent 30 minutes and you don't understand anything that the person said. The person was talking. The person did not communicate. Communication is such a skill. There are times I see someone. I remember recently I contacted a lady because I saw her LinkedIn profile. I was like, oh yes, she's fantastic for my client. She sent me her CV, which is a communication tool. I say, auntie, sorry, we cannot send this CV to the client. She was like, oh, why? But you've seen my profile. But guess what? I went on LinkedIn. The client is not going to go on LinkedIn. The client is going to look at your CV. And from that CV, you have communicated nothing that should even convince them that they should give you a chance. Critical thinking is another skill. Emotional intelligence, problem solving, leadership, self-leadership, ability to lead people, to be adaptable. These are skills that will always be relevant. Because your career can be such that you move from admin to operations to project management and so forth. The job has changed, but the skills to flourish in those different jobs will remain the same. And then people are saying, oh, AI, artificial intelligence is coming, it's going to replace tasks. Yes. AI will replace routine tasks, like the one I talked about when I got into the mall to shop. It can write drafts, it can analyze data, it can automate repetitive work. Artificial intelligence cannot build trust. It cannot lead people. It cannot make moral decisions. It cannot create vision. AI cannot show empathy to your staff. And it definitely cannot inspire excellence. And so the future of work is going to push us as human beings into thinking, into leading, into creating. It is going to move people away from repetitive work, from manual processing, yes. But it's going to push us to begin to think a lot more critically. And careers will be non-linear. That means that whole I stay in one company doing one, not to say that's a bad thing, no. There are still some people that's their passion. That as they've come into that company, that's where they want to be. But I'm saying that the new reality is that we're going to have multiple careers. You're going to have side projects. I have run my side business for almost 13 years. When I started, it was to buy makeup and buy hair. I was not thinking of anything. But today, as I was reviewing our numbers for 2025, I was proud. I said, this side hustle has become something. And the reality is I've had a 9 to 5 throughout. Not for once has my employer ever said to me, oh, your business is taking over. Sometimes they don't even remember that I have a side hustle. And that's the reality for people that are entrepreneurs here. You have to own it with your full chest that your staff will have multiple jobs, and it's okay for them to. We have to recognize that the new reality requires reinvention, because as the world is evolving, things need to evolve. We need to know that sometimes somebody may have to leave a job. They will start again, they will learn something new, and they will come back stronger. In the past, our parents' friends, the reason they couldn't resign was because who will give them a job again? They had to stay there. But now, you can actually leave your job as a product manager and start a new career in 3 years and say you're an influencer or you're doing digital marketing. It is truly possible. Career breaks used to be detrimental to your career. Now, they are refreshing. The fact that you can rebrand your life because new things are coming up and there are needs every day. And we're going to see now that people are not going to just ask, how much do I earn? They're going to be asking, am I growing? Am I respected? Is my work meaningful? Is my leader a human being? Do I even belong here? And companies, I think it's back on. And companies that are going to win in the future are companies that would invest in their people, companies that would develop leaders, companies that will build healthy cultures, and companies that will care about their people's well-being. Because at the end of the day, people don't leave jobs. They say people leave managers. I say people leave experiences. It's the experience they are having that's going to make them say, you know what, another experience may be better. So now, let's look at it this way as well. The future of work is not something that we're supposed to be afraid of. It's something we're supposed to prepare for. Because like I said, God is not threatened by change because God is the author of growth. When you remember the parable of the talents, the issue was not that he did not just double the money or that he kept the money. That was not the issue. It wasn't that he lost the money. The issue was that he failed to grow it. And we've looked at that story and we have laughed. Your own talent, how have you grown it? What God places in your hand is meant to be developed, not to be hidden. And so when we look at the parable and we're saying that guy, they gave him money, look at where he went to dig it in the ground. When you fail to steward the gifts that God has given to you, you're very much like that gentleman. When you come in and you say, see, I don't like stress, all I like is just accounting and that's it, and you fail to harness the other skills that God has given to you, that is not stewardship. So how are we going to stay relevant in the long term? Number one, stay relevant is not just a career strategy. It is actually stewardship responsibility. Because God does not give us gifts to be preserved. He gives them to us to develop, to multiply, and to deploy these gifts. Because for us, we think that we can choose to grow or not grow. Some people say it's not my thing. Sorry. In my opinion, growth is God's expectation of us. Because God always expects increase. If you look at from creation, we will see that God's pattern is seed, growth, and fruit. So if somebody gives you a smartphone, and all you use the smartphone to do is to make calls, you are technically using the phone, but you are not stewarding its full capacity. It is the same way that God now expects us to stretch our minds, stretch our skills, stretch our capacity, not to impress people, but to honor Him. And that's why I said that the future of work that we're evolving to is not a surprise to God, it's a surprise to us. And it is the opportunity for us to begin to honor God with our skills. There's something Pete Dams talked about. I was like, there's no need for me to address this again. But when he talked about learning, and I'm just going to add that act of learning, not waiting for your organization, that act of learning, that act of being teachable is an act of obedience. Some people will say, that's how I've always done it. Okay. The arrogance for someone to say what I knew yesterday is sufficient for today when the world is moving. Stagnation that is dressed as loyalty is still stagnation. So you say, I've been with this company for 30, I'm loyal to them, but you are not growing, you are still stagnant. If you like, be there for 40 years. But when you learn new things, new tools, new ways of thinking, new skills, what you are saying is, God, I respect what you have placed in my hands, and I'm going to steward it. Adaptability is also spiritual intelligence. Your ability to adapt. Like I talked about Joseph. Joseph was in Potiphar's house. When he got to prison, he adapted. When he got back into being a prime minister, he adapted. Joseph thrived in the palace. He thrived in the prison. He thrived in the marketplace because he adapted without losing his values. So different seasons may require different versions of you, but at the end of the same is the same character. And adaptability will allow God to move you across various industries, various nations, and various assignments. You need to open your mind. I know a lot of people who have not even tried something, but when you ask them, do you want? No. I remember for the longest, I didn't used to eat amala. Why? Why is it black? Like, why? And then I had a client who owned a restaurant, and she invited me for a business meeting. And then they offered me amala. Ha! You know why you can't say no? Money is good. I ate amala. This is what I've been what? But guess what? If I never tried it, I would never have known. Some people here will say, I can never be a PA. There are some PAs that I know that their annual salary is $250,000. It's PA work. There are PAs that the visa stamps on their passports, you cannot compare. You will work in a company for 30 years, you will not even go to Ogun State. But someone will say, how can I be a PA? For what? I know a young lady who was an office assistant. And she used to do her work very diligently. Now, a lady who worked in the office, used to work in Chevron at the time, used to go to a creche to drop her daughter. And she noticed this office assistant in that creche. She was always very with the kids, she would play with them. So anytime she goes to drop her daughter, she used to pray that, let's say the girl's name is Amaka. Amaka will be the one to pick my daughter today because she's so warm. And then an admin role opened up in Chevron. And when they described the person, she said, that sounds like Amaka. Amaka, the office assistant, earning 25K, got a job earning over $500,000 per month. At that time, being an office assistant, I'm sure, was beneath her. But again, it is how you do what you do, not what you are doing. I want us to remember as I wrap up that multiplying your skill is how God expands your influence. If all you know is accounting, you will only work in that accounting department. But when you are able to multiply your skills, God will often use that opportunity to give you visibility. So if God gives you one skill and you multiply it into 3, he will trust you with 5. So that prayer you are praying for, that big thing, let's look at your responsibility today in the one that you're doing. When you because when I think about it, some opportunities that I have gotten, I didn't get them because I planned it like this. I stumbled on them. How did I become a recruiter? I was working in a company as a marketer, and somebody that I had met on a trip said he couldn't come into Nigeria, and he used to work in a recruitment firm, and they needed to sell recruitment services. I said, hey, me, I market now. I can go and market recruitment services. For marketing, that's how I became a recruiter, and I've been running my business since. It was the thing that led to the thing. So let's not forget that God expects growth, not perfection, not comparison, but God expects that there will be faithfulness with what he has placed in our hands as we prepare for the future. I know that sometimes when we can't see the full picture, we'll begin to get nervous. We can't really see what the next step is and all of that. One thing I've learned in recent times is that careers are marathons. They are not sprints. You don't always have to see the end now. We are on a journey. The world typically will celebrate overnight success, viral fame. You know that's the reigning thing now. Do something stupid, you become famous. It works. We celebrate quick promotions. But the truth is that those are exceptions. They are not the rule, actually. Real, lasting success is built on compounded habits over time and not shortcuts. When I listen to some successful people and they tell you, I've been doing this thing for 22 years. Meanwhile, we just heard of them 2 years ago. 20 years was them developing themselves. And so what compounds over time for us as we begin to prepare for the future is integrity. Doing the right thing when nobody is watching. Being faithful in stewardship, in the small responsibilities, because they will prepare you for the bigger ones. You meet your deadline, even when your manager is not looking. Even when you know your manager expects you to submit it in on Friday, you submit it on Wednesday. Paying attention to your skills, consistently building your expertise and your versatility. Skills are portable. That's, you know how you say you can port. You can port skills because they will travel with you across various jobs, across various industries. Building relationships. Networks are not just LinkedIn connections any longer. Networks are people that you respect, people that you serve, people that you collaborate with. And I can tell you for free, strong relationships, they open doors. They provide support and they multiply your impact. I can't even begin to tell you. I had an experience recently. It's not even career related. So I had a colleague in the office. We're not really that close. But for some reason in 2025, we started having lunch together. And those lunch dates were opportunities. She's like an older believer. She's older than I am and she's been in the faith for much longer. So we used to have lunch and we'll just talk about different things. She used to share different testimonies on healing with me that used to blow my mind. And then shortly after, a loved one of mine got very sick. And it was those conversations, everything that we discussed at lunch, that sustained me throughout that waiting period for my loved one. God had used that opportunity to prepare me for what was going to happen. But imagine if I didn't utilize it. If I just saw lunch as a nice time to be gossiping. Let's talk about all our employees, the one that is our business, the one that is not our business. That's what I was using it for. But no, we used it for so much more. And so it is important that you build networks as you begin to think about the future. Also begin to think about your reputation. I learned this one quite late. Reputation compounds faster than wealth, and it is harder to repair once it is broken. There are some people that will never forgive you. There's nothing you want to say in this life. That experience they had with you has told them that this is your reputation in the marketplace. You can never move on from it. And so it's very important that you manage your reputation. The excellence that you put in small tasks will always build a reputation that will precede you. And then let's look at your character as well. Shortcuts may always look very attractive. They may get attention temporarily, but character is what is going to sustain your success. So I'm going to close by saying that for every one of us here, we were not born too late. Neither were we overlooked. God knew that this is the era that we're going to be born into. He knew the complexity of this world, and he knew the demands of this generation. And because this generation is not by accident, I believe that we were all designed for this time, this economy, and this global workspace. So my charge is that we learn relentlessly, we adapt boldly, we work excellently, we serve very faithfully, and build wherever God places you. And trust that the same God who called you will equip you to thrive, regardless of the industry, regardless of the country, and regardless of your season. Thank you.
Thank you so much.